G'day, welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another round of Premier League predictions as me and Sim go head to head each and every week of the Premier League campaign, predicting the outcomes on each and every game. And we have a scoring system right now. It is 15-14 in Sim's favour. 16-15. How could I get it so wrong? 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And Starman, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And there's actually a lot of hard games this week, isn't there?
A lot of
big matchups.
Tough to predict. So looking forward to this weekend of football.
Yeah.
Last one for the international break?
Yeah, this is it. I can't believe they come around so quickly, don't they?
I hate these international breaks.
I know.
Whatever.
But
just giving you a taste of Premier League football back and then going
they
back
take
to
it away. Yeah. First up is Arsenal against Brighton, 12:30 kickoff. We've both gone for the same scoreline here, 2-1 to Arsenal.
Yeah, I think Arsenal probably should have just enough for Brighton. They obviously found a way to win their first 2 games of the season against Wolves and Villa. Villa, I thought they were a bit fortuitous, but you know it's the kind of luck you need when you're challenging for the top end of the table. Brighton have been very impressive opening 2 games. Really good win against Man United last week, albeit it did take until the 90th minute. I do feel like in terms of how Villa will approach the game against Arsenal to Brighton are going to be a lot more offensive. They're going to throw a lot more caution to the wind. I feel like Villa played quite a smart counter-attacking game. It's why they got a lot of joy, which I do think they can hurt Arsenal here, because Arsenal have started the season not the strongest, but I just feel like they'll find a way to win. I've gone for a 2-1 win.
Yeah, I think the Arsenal defence is going to stand them in good stead today. Yes, Brighton have started the season well. Probably, you got to say, with the way they're playing in terms of the form team in the league so far, in terms of pure, style of play and attacking brand of football. I think they are looking really good, but I think this Arsenal team at home at the Emirates, without conceding a goal as of yet in the Premier League campaign, I see a good game of football, a competitive game of football, but I think Arsenal will just about get over the line with a 2-1 win. Next up is Brentford against Southampton. Both of us gone for Brentford wins, but I've gone for 2-0. Sim has gone for 1-0, and I've been fairly impressed with Brentford so far, the way they've started their season. Ivan Toney-less Brentford looks like he's on his way to Saudi as it stands right now, but I think they got something good about them in terms of Brian and Buemo, with Sade and with Wissa in their front line, looking like a really pacey, impressive front line. And Southampton, I was impressed with them first game against Newcastle, but they backed it up with a poor performance the week after. Still haven't scored a goal yet in the Premier League, so I feel like Brentford could take a bit of advantage of Southampton this weekend.
Yeah, and I felt like obviously Forest are the kind of team that I don't mind Southampton having a bit of control, because I know they got the quality, and I see Brentford approaching this game in a similar way, allowing Southampton possession with a view of counter-attacking them. Newcastle obviously tried to dominate them, and Southampton kind of went toe-to-toe in that game, obviously before Newcastle went down to 10 men, and then Newcastle played a counter-attacking game, and they kind of struggled with that a bit. So I do see Brentford approaching this the same way. Obviously no Ivan Toney, but Wissa and Buemo just got a knack in these kind of games of being quite effective. But I just see set pieces being very crucial in this game. I see Southampton dominating possession. I see Brentford getting the win, 1-0.
Good counter-attacking side. Those players that they do have, are very suitable for a counter-attacking team. Next up, we go to Everton, Bournemouth. We've both gone for the same result in a draw, but Sim's gone for 2-2. I have gone for 1-1.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of an open game. I think Everton, off the back of 2 really bad results, Brighton 3-0 and Spurs 4-0. They're going to have to do their best to get something out of this game to stop kind of the Everton fans getting too toxic at the moment. We saw the scenes on the train home, but the Everton players getting a lot of abuse from the Everton fans. So Sean Dyche knows how important this game is. So I do see them being a bit more expansive, trying to go at Bournemouth. I think that'll suit Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth will enjoy that, albeit. I think from set pieces, I think it's going to be very crucial for Everton to get that advantage. Still missing Branthwaite, Tarkowski should be fit, but he's apparently having a late fitness test. So if they're both missing, I definitely see Bournemouth getting some joy on their back line. Evan Nilsson's going to be back in the team. Semenyo, I think, has started the season brilliantly, by the way. He's been one of the stars so far in the opening 2 games. So I think Bournemouth, under Iraola, high pressing team, they give as good as they get at the moment, so I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I've gone for 1-1, the same scoreline in every Bournemouth game so far, which has been 1-1. Both teams haven't got off the line yet with the 3 points as of yet, but Bournemouth have obviously looked a lot better than Everton so far this season, and I think Bournemouth will be probably kicking themselves a bit that they haven't got over the line and got those 3 points as of yet with the performances that they have shown. But I feel like they're going to come up against a bit of a stubborn Everton side because they've conceded, 7 goals so far, Everton,
2 games, yeah.
over the first 2 games, and I feel like Sean Dyche is just going to get them back to basics, get them defending deep and getting them really resolute, and I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to see a better performance from Everton, and I couldn't split the sides at 1-1, but if you're going just on form, I don't think you can look away from a Bournemouth win, but we all know how the Premier League doesn't always work like that. But next up, Ipswich against Fulham. I have gone for 2-2 here. Sim has gone for 2-1 to Ipswich. It's a game where I think both teams will definitely fancy their chances. I like the look of Fulham under Marco Silva. I like the look of Ipswich as well. They've had 2 very hard games so far, starting off with Man City and Liverpool. And I feel in this one they'll think of Fulham at home. It's time for us to really kickstart our Premier League campaign. They've brought on some interesting players as well in the back end of the window, with Sammy Smodic's obviously getting his first goal against Man City. And I feel like Ipswich will give as good as they get here, but I couldn't split the side, so I've gone for 2-2.
I've gone for 2-1 to Ipswich. Obviously, as you say, Ipswich had such a hard start to the season. I feel like they might feel like their season starts in this game now. First proper home game against a side they could win. I thought in parts they looked quite impressive against Liverpool before succumbing to a defeat. Against Man City, obviously, always going to be very difficult in that game, albeit they did take the lead. Fulham obviously beating Leicester, another pro side at home last week, albeit didn't have it all their own way, but probably did deserve the win. I just got a feeling Ipswich are going to be right up for this one, and I think under Kieran McKenna, they definitely like to play good attacking brand football. They're going to take the game to Fulham. Fulham might enjoy that, but I just got a feeling Ipswich are going to overperform here and just get the win. So I've gone for a 2-1 win to Ipswich.
Leicester against Villa up next. We've gone for the exact same scoreline here in 2-0 to Aston Villa.
Yeah, I think Villa should have enough in this one. I know Leicester got the result against Spurs opening game week of the season, but I felt like they rode their luck a lot in that game. They did get back in the game and obviously earn themselves a draw. I just feel like Villa maybe won't be as open as Spurs were in that game at parts. And obviously going forward, I think Morgan Rogers has had a really good start to the season. Watkins hasn't quite got going, but he threatened obviously to score against Arsenal on a couple of occasions. And if you give him those kind of chances, he's sure to bury one. I reckon he gets off the mark here, and I reckon they get a clean sheet as well. So I've gone for a 2-0 win for Villa.
I feel like Villa team they're performing really well, like a good, well-oiled machine, but they are just missing that killer up front in Ollie Watkins, who hasn't really performed this season yet. So I feel like once he gets up and running, you're going to see a really strong Villa side, and I got a feeling like this weekend could be the weekend where it comes against the Leicester team, which should be sitting on 0 points right now in the Premier League. They got a good draw against Tottenham, but Tottenham really should have put them to bed in the first half, and I feel like it could be a similar situation this weekend with Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins back on his game, I reckon, and they've got plenty of other players that can hurt Leicester as well, with Rodgers. They've got the lad Duran coming off the bench as well, who's looked really good so far this season as well. So I can't see anything but a Villa win. So I've gone for 2-0. Forest against Wolves. Again, we've gone for the exact same scoreline here in 1-1. And I think it has been 1-1 the last 2 or 3 times these teams have placed each other. Morgan Gibbs-White, apparently he could be out for this game. It's not 100% confirmed, so he still could play against his old side. But yeah, I feel like these 2 teams just cancel each other out, really.
Yeah, I think both sides who want to give control to the opposition. Bit of a concerning start to the season, I'd say, for Wolves, albeit, or if you add context into their results, a 2-0 loss away at Arsenal, albeit they had some chances at 1-0 to maybe get back in the game, and then they lost 6-2 at home to Chelsea, albeit definitely, first half 2-2, they were definitely in that game and giving as good as they got to Chelsea, and then kind of fell apart in that second half. So slightly concerning that the amount of goals they're conceding in the first 2 games. But in this kind of game against Nottingham Forest, I think both teams will look to give control to the opposition, look to counter-attack. I can just see a game of very few chances. I know Forest are at home, but I feel like it's only going to be a draw. I can't see too many chances here, so I went for 1-1.
West Ham against Man City. Both of us gone for Man City win. Sim's gone for 2-0. I've gone for 3-1. And I can actually see a bit of a resounding victory for Man City here. They've started off the season really well, in my opinion, looking unbeatable so far in the first couple of games. West Ham, bit of an up and down start to the season, lost their first game, came back and won the second game. But I feel like Lopetegui's still just kind of feeling his way in to the manager's job at West Ham, and I feel like he could be in for a bit of a rude awakening this weekend.
Yeah, no, if I just cast my mind back to their game against Villa, in that first half they gave Villa way too much control, and they allowed Villa, obviously they took a 1-0 lead, it could have been more. I remember Leon Bailey missed an open goal, and if they give Man City that kind of advantage and that kind of space, I think Man City are just going to take control and be a bit ruthless here. But we know West Ham have quality, especially in these kind of games. We've seen it so many times. They sit back, they wait for their moments, and they've got the likes of Bowen, they've got Paquetá, they've got some quality in the forward line. So I can definitely see they're waiting for their moment. But I just feel like if they give Man City that advantage they gave Villa, and I know Lopetegui is going to want to be smart in this game. He's going to try and stifle Man City. And I think it's going to be his undoing. And I see a comfortable 2-0 victory for Man City.
Moving on to the Sunday games, Chelsea against Crystal Palace. We've gone for the exact same scoreline again in 2-1 to Chelsea. What do you make out of that one?
Yeah, I think I see a tight game. I think it's going to be a stodgy performance from Chelsea. I know they took Wolves to the cleaners last week. Really great performance. Albeit, I do feel like it flattered them a bit, the 6-2 win. I don't think maybe it should have been that much.
It felt like everything went in.
Yeah, it felt like every shot. It was one of those games where every shot goes in. And I think that, the XG proves that. Obviously, Crystal Palace losing Anderson, Guehi's still there, which is a big positive. Kamada got off the score sheet in the League Cup in midweek. That'll give them a really good confidence boost. So I see them maybe having a new sense of belief going into this game. But I still think, I'm just looking at Chelsea's quality. I see Glasner trying to frustrate Chelsea, and I see them getting a goal. But I just think maybe like a late penalty for Chelsea and a kind of a stodgy win, 2-1.
Yeah, I think regardless of whether the scoreline flattered them or not, you've got to say that it's definitely a massive morale and confidence boosting win to score that many goals in the Premier League, with Madueke getting a hat-trick as well.
And they lost in midweek.
Did they lose on Thursday night?
They lost to Servette.
They still went through though, didn't they?
2-1. 3-2 on aggregate.
But I still think, like, you're looking at Crystal Palace, they haven't really arrived in this campaign as of yet. I think they've been really disappointing. I think, for my opinion, they've been one of the most disappointing teams to come into this league so far, when you look at the way they ended last season. So I think the manager Glasner has called for patience from the Crystal Palace fans. So I just feel like Chelsea are going to win this one. I think it'll be tighter than what maybe the two teams' forms suggest in terms of the Premier League form anyway. But I think Chelsea will just get over the line with 2-1. Newcastle against Tottenham. Sim's gone for 2-2. I've gone for 2-1 to Newcastle.
Yeah, we'll wait to see Tottenham team news. There's rumours that Solanke and Richarlison might both be missing. If that is the case, then Tottenham will likely play a very similar team that lost 4-0 to Newcastle last game. But Newcastle do have a few injuries in the back line, albeit they had a host of injuries last time. Will Eddie Howe approach this game in a similar fashion to their approach the game last time? They went ultra defensive and just hit Spurs on the counter. They have had a fairly stodgy start to the season, albeit they still have 4 points, which is the same as Spurs, albeit Spurs maybe looking a bit better. I just see Spurs, if it's going to go in a similar pattern to what it was last season, I think Spurs will have a bit more joy in the final third, especially if Decky starts maybe in the false line or next to Maddison. I think they're going to have a bit more joy in the final third than they had last time out, where they just couldn't pick any of the locks. Also, Odegaard might be starting, so they're going to have a few more weapons to their armoury, especially if Solanke as well is fit to play. But Newcastle still have that quality in Gordon and Isaac, and on the counter attack they're going to be super effective, which they know they can be under Eddie Howe, and they were last year. We we have a bit of PTSD from the last two trips to St James's Park, 6-1 and 4-0. I'm sure Andrew want to put a stop to that, so I'm going for a 2-2 draw. Yeah,
well, he's definitely going to want to put a stop to that, that's for sure. But I just look at this Spurs team and how open we are defensively, and even the likes of Everton and Leicester were able to open us up. Well, Everton without scoring, Leicester did score and probably should have scored another one in that period where they were on top. And I'm looking at this Newcastle front line, and I feel like they're going to sit deep and wait for their moments to counter on us, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to handle it at times, as we've seen the last couple of years. I do think we got tools to hurt them going the other way, and I don't think it will be as resounding of a victory as it has been over the last couple of years, but I am worried going into this game, so I have gone for 2-1 to Newcastle. Last but not least, it's Man U against Liverpool. Sim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 3-1 to Liverpool, and Arnie's Slot's first taste of a big derby for Liverpool. And I know Ten Hag, he has mixed bag in these games, doesn't he? Because there was a stat at the beginning where he got battered in every big game that he was playing, but then he did stem the tide last season a bit, beat Liverpool in the FA Cup with a brilliant performance by Kobbie Mainoo, and I think both teams will be really up for it. But I'm just looking at the way Liverpool play at the moment, and I'm just so impressed with how quickly Arne Slot's kind of integrated himself into this Liverpool setup. I'm liking the attacking philosophy that he has. I'm liking the chance creation that they seem to be providing on a consistent basis, and I'm seeing definitely vulnerabilities in this Manchester United side. So I've gone for Liverpool to go for 3-1.
Ten Hag does have a way of getting a result at home to Liverpool, and obviously last season, as you say, won the FA Cup, also drew 2-2 in the home game where Liverpool right in the thick of the title race and ended up putting the brakes on that occasion. I remember one of Ten Hag's first games as well, beating Liverpool 2-1 at home under when Jurgen Klopp was in charge. So he does have a good record and a good history of getting this Man United set up for this game. Also, it's Arne Slot's first big test as Liverpool manager at Old Trafford. It's going to be a massive occasion for him. Obviously, been impressive first 2 games, but it is Ipswich and Brentford, so it's not one of the top teams. Ten Hag is going to want to show that he has been given the job for another year for a reason. I don't see them winning though. I don't know if they're good enough to beat this Liverpool team, but I see them getting incredible draw, so 1-1.
All right, and now we move on to the star men. I have gone for Sammy Szmodics of Ipswich, a player that I absolutely adored last season for Blackburn. I was quite excited when he signed for Ipswich to see what he does do in the Premier League. Scored on his debut in a 4-1 loss against Manchester City. It was about 10 minutes into his debut, and I feel like with Ipswich game at home to Fulham, I sense goals in this game, and I think if Ipswich get a couple, which I've predicted, then he'll be central to that with goals and assists. So I've gone for Sammy Szmodics.
And I've gone for Johan Wissa of Brentford. It just looks to me like a Wissa kind of game, gets on the score sheet. He's always
only got 1-0 though.
I have only got, well, if he gets a goal, if it is Wissa, I'll be happy with that. So it just screams of a Wissa kind of game, so I've gone for Wissa to score.
All right, so there you have it. Those are our Premier League predictions for this weekend. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Let me know who you think is going to come out on top this week. Is it going to be me or Sim?